Hey there, I'm Ed Gannon and welcome to The Baby, where we talk about life as the youngest in the family. In our previous episode, we met Angela and Lisa, who are not only best friends, but were also each the youngest of 8 children. Here, we pick up on our conversation by asking Lisa what mealtimes were like when she was growing up.
I think they were very stressful for Mum, to be honest. She would get quite stressed trying to get everything coordinated, but then very relieved, I think, to sit down and eat. But it was fun, and I can remember, sort of combining that answer with what we were just talking about and people's friends at the dinner table and, stories being told and, just everyone just sitting around and having a very nice chat. And you're never quite sure who might be joining you at the table sometimes. But Dad he liked to sit in a certain spot. So he liked to have his, and actually Mum did too, actually. They often sat in their particular seats at the table, but with everybody else it was sort of, wherever you got your spot. We would always have to help. So I can remember, there were no frozen peas back then. Mum would come in if I was watching Skippy or something. Here's the peas, sit on your lap and shell all the peas and take those back into the kitchen. Whereas I don't know that my kids have ever seen or certainly never had to shell a pea in their life. And there was sort of probably very meals that you would see on a regular basis. So chops and veg and shepherd's pie, salmon mornay on Fridays because, Mum didn't eat meat on Fridays.
Corned beef?
Yes, corned beef was in there too.
So, Angela, tell me about meal times at your place.
So, as I said before, I don't remember us eating around a table together in our younger years because our kitchen was small. So everyone would take their dinner down to the lounge room and sit it on their lap and eat watching telly. But then we did renovate and we had a table in the centre of the room. And again, I'd say pretty basic meat and veg kind of meals. There was always ample meat growing up on a farm. There was always a beast hanging out the back that Dad had slaughtered. So there was lots of meat. And my job was to get the potatoes and peel the potatoes. And then, like with milk, because we're on a dairy farm, we could collect the milk from the shed every day. And that was always like, oh, who's going to go get the milk? You get the milk. No, you go get the milk. And one of us would go down with the billy, get the milk, and you'd be swinging it. Did you ever do that? Swing it in a circle as you were going and the milk didn't tip out. That was always a good trick. Yeah, we did the same sort of thing, curried sausages, kai si ming, all those sorts of things, so minced dishes, lots of roasts. But, Mum could turn out a massive amount of food. So once the kids were all older and had had partners, and then sometimes the partners' parents would come on a Sunday. Sundays there was just always a massive cook-up for a lot of people, generally a roast. I don't think we all sat. There was the bench and I don't know where people really sat. But, it was always there was always a lot of food, but I do recall, like, as I got older, getting those lunchbox sort of snacks that the older kids would never have got. So, like, bought biscuits in the little packets, like Tiny Teddies, let's just say, those sort of really special Primas and things.
Do you think that's because and I presume your mother was predominantly preparing your meals, had sort of a bit over it?
Had enough. I don't think snack packaging was around either when the kids were younger. But also they probably maybe had a little bit more money to spend on those things and there was more convenience coming into the house, possibly.
Yeah.
You talk about big people turning out on Sunday and whatnot. What was Christmas like?
Oh, unreal. Fantastic. Like, Mum and Dad always gave us a really great Christmas. I think for them it was really stressful though. I remember feeling the tension in the air in the lead up to Christmas because money was tight and you got to try and buy presents for all these kids. But then always, family celebration. One year it would be at Grandma Rodahan's, the next year it'd be at Grandma in Maffra's and we'd swap around. And then when the older kids started working and having boyfriends and girlfriends and then like babies or whatever. I remember one year we counted like 200 and something presents under the tree.
Oh, wow.
There were just so many presents. But it was just really good fun and, huge, beautiful celebration.
Yeah. Lisa?
Yeah, I'd agree. It was very special and very exciting, and it was exciting because everybody would come home. So for those that, might have moved out or been away, that sort of thing, they would be there. So that was super exciting. And there was always, lovely food and, lots of fun times. Sometimes we'd start Christmas Day with a swim or something like that down in Torquay. But yeah, again, I was amazed at how Mum would pull it all together, because she was really the brains of the operation, of all the presents and that sort of thing. And I think I do remember one year discovering, way up the back of Mum's wardrobe. Why was I in there anyway? I don't know. But that's, where a lot of the presents were were put away, and thinking, oh, wow, but I didn't unwrap any. So that was something. But yeah, just thinking, oh, wow, your eyes couldn't quite stay in your head. It was very exciting times. We didn't have the real Christmas tree. Like we always had the bought Christmas tree that would come out every year, but it was exciting just decorating and having that tradition of doing that together, and just waking up and running out and seeing all those presents, I think. But it became more about, the food and the people and the getting together as we got older.
Did you? We had the thing where you had a chair and your presents were put on a chair. Nothing was ever wrapped up.
Oh,
It was
okay.
just put on a chair. That's your chair. That's your chair. That's your chair. And whatever do it. So we didn't have wrapped presents at that time.
Okay.
So you would have wrapped presents.
Yeah.
Well, we had wrapped and Santa sacks.
Yeah. Well, Santa ones were the ones.
Yeah.
The ones that come from Santa was that. But if you bought each other ones, they were wrapped
Oh,
up. But
yeah.
But that sort of thing.
And we had the real tree. And, I remember finding the presents, looking into a room, and all the older siblings are in there, the girls probably, wrapping the presents, and I had some roller skates and some famous 5 books. I remember that much. And I remember just them seeing me and me pretending to not see anything and just run away so that I could keep that, that she still believes in Santa alive. Yeah. And then I remember also getting a Barbie bus one year, and I think my eldest sibling had to put it together, and he was hungover. So I remember him putting the stickers on a bit upside down.
The wheels fell off the Barbie bus pretty quickly.
I've still got the Barbie bus now, but So
when I remember once walking through, we actually had a holiday house. So we would stay at the holiday house. We always had Christmas at the holiday house.
Wow.
And I walked through, and there was biscuits on the table, so I just ate them and kept on going, and then someone came out and they said they were for Santa. I didn't realise. And the other kids were really dark on me because Santa wasn't going to come because someone had eaten the biscuits. So I didn't have a very good Christmas night that night.
That was Dad's job in our family, was to eat Santa's snack, and funnily enough, Santa got left out a stubby of beer as well.
There was always beer for Santa.
Yeah, ours is milk. What's Christmas like now?
Do
you do a family thing?
We do. We get together before Christmas Day because most of us have, our other, family, like partners, families. Some of my siblings have grandchildren. What we do is we get together down where my mum lives, and there's a big, lovely community centre there, and we get it catered, and it's, whoever can make it.
How many people would turn up?
30 to 40 people.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so that's Mum. My dad's passed away almost 10 years ago. And then it's my siblings and their partners and children, and sometimes, friends or other family members as well will join us. It's just, whoever can be there, because some are interstate or have been overseas and that sort of thing. But, it's a really great get-together because we've decided that we don't want anyone to have to feel burdened or have it in their home, so that it reduces any numbers or any possibility for someone to be there, or stress or whatever. So that's just a way of, you can just turn up, and it's all about talking and getting together. Yeah. And no presents anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, presents the interesting one.
It's the meal and it's the getting together.
Yeah, ours is really disjointed now. I'd say we can't all fit in one place. There would be 80 or so if you had everybody there. Even though we all have the desire to be together, no one can cater or fit us all in. So we've gone through years of hiring the footy club rooms. For many years we did that, and that was okay. You got the big footy oval for all the kids to play on, and like lots of space. But catering for that number's too hard. So there's sort of little groups of us now that might get together at someone's house. And it's hard for my kids because they kind of remember that Rotherham Christmas from, I don't know how, 10 years ago, let's say, and they're always every year, can we have a Rotherham Christmas? And I have to say we can't because nobody can host it anymore. So, yeah, that's a bit of a shame. But so everyone has pretty much got grandchildren, so they need to have their own Christmas. But, yeah, we have done the off-year thing too and had a November get-together as best we can. But, yeah, again, I'll probably have to organise the next one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Sort of get back to the theme of meals. Can you remember, first of all, just going out for a meal?
Occasionally we'd go to the pub, and that was exciting to have a counter meal and get a sarsaparilla. That's what I remember. But it wasn't very often. Dad used to get very excited about those meals because he could, get a beer on tap in a nice glass. And I think he thought that was pretty exciting, as did I. But it wasn't, it wasn't a common occurrence, maybe a few times a year when I was a young kid.
yeah, as a little person, I don't really remember going out much, but maybe as a young teenager, we'd go to Shoemakers in Hayfield and have a Sunday smorgasbord. Oh, my goodness, that was incredible. But I remember thinking, gee, that must cost a lot of money and worrying about, how much that would cost. But fish and chips was as close as we'd get to a bought meal, I think. Pub meal occasionally, maybe a church, in the hall after someone's Holy Communion, you might have a bit of a feed there, but it was mainly eating at home or at family or friends. You might
at your cousin's
have a barbecue.
house. Yeah, having food there together, lunch, which was often, just like rolls. Like if it was cousins get together on a weekend or something, it'd be mum would bring ham rolls and there'd be baked, home baked cakes and that sort of thing. But it was exciting.
Going back to when you were probably coming of age, so turning 18, did you find that the rules were a bit slacker or stricter at that time leading up to that point?
Yeah, there weren't a lot of rules. I sort of remember saying, can I go to this pub or go to this party, go to this footy do? And they'd be like, well, is so-and-so going to be there, as in your older sibling? Like, will Paul be there? Will Kate be there? Will Tony be there? And, then that's okay. You can go if they're there. So that was okay. But also I had a lot of parties, because I'm the 24th of April, so Anzac Day was always the next day. So by the time I was having a 16th and a 17th and an 18th, I was having them at my siblings' houses, and they were great. They let me have these big parties. I don't know how they did it now. Now with teenagers of my own, I'm like, gosh, how did they do that? But, yes, I'd have these really big parties. But my siblings, at one party in particular, my brothers were the worst behaved at the party. They were harassing my friends so badly. They were hiding in the canna lilies and they were jumping out and frightening my friends and saying, we will give you 3 off, 1, 2, 3, and then we will hang you from the hay shed. They were running through this. Oh, anyway, it's hard to explain, but everyone still talks about it. And they were very funny but very naughty, and they wrecked Mum's canna lily bush, so she was most unhappy about that. But I remember saying to Dad once, because I did have a boyfriend at the time, and we wanted to go to his auntie and uncle's in South Australia, so say I'm 17 or something, and Dad was sitting at the kitchen table and I went to ask him if I could go, and he put his head in his hand. He said, I can't answer these questions anymore, and he just didn't answer, so I went.
I can remember Mum doing that sometimes. I'd be, on the phone to a friend, and I don't know necessarily that I was 18, but probably earlier than that, and just saying, Mum, can I go here? Can I go there? Can I whatever? And she'd just be like, I don't know. I just don't know, because she'd be trying to run different kids around and pick people up, and someone had to go to work, and someone was, doing the school production, and someone else was, catching the train back in from Melbourne, and she was just like, I just don't know.
And you probably had the complexity of it. You were probably wanting to go to things in Geelong.
Yes,
and you were wanting to go to things in
Hayfield or Sale
or Maffra or whatever. Right. So it actually involved them having to do something. Yeah, and so it actually became a bit of a
Well, we just figured out our own rides.
Yes, exactly.
Like no one was offering to drive me very far. And I would pack a bag on a Friday night and go to Hayfield and stay with friends and come home on a Sunday. And I don't think Mum and Dad totally knew where I was for most of that time. And you'd put your 20 cents in the phone machine and ring up Mum and Dad, or the phone. It's not a phone machine, the pay phone. forgotten what they were. And, just touch base with them there. I'll say, oh, I need this. Can you bring this in next time you're coming into Heyford? But, I'd just go on a Friday and come back on a Sunday, pretty much.
And how old would you be? Would you have been 18 at that point?
Oh, God, no. No, from about 15 I would have been. But I was staying with really, close family friends.
But you're still at school at that time?
Yeah. Yeah, and I had a part-time job.
And you would have been doing your homework while you were on those weekends, I would imagine.
I would have been doing homework. Yeah, I did keep up with my homework.
See, that's pretty, wow, I'm feeling quite jealous because, I would have, like if there was a party on, I would have stayed over at a friend's house who lived in Geelong, and it was always quite exciting, but no, maybe not the whole weekend. So you were pretty cool, Ange.
No, I was in any car leaving the farm, I was in it. Hitching a ride into town. Yeah.
How old were you when you first started driving?
Well, we drove motorbikes, from a young age, and that was so much fun, riding around the farm on the motorbikes. And then the old station wagon became the blue bus that was in the paddock, and friends would come over and we'd drive around in the blue bus or the blue bomb. And then I can't remember who taught me how to drive. I really don't recall how that happened, but I did have some actual driving lessons. So probably no one else got driving lessons, but I had some. I guess I was just busting to get my license by the time I was 18.
Yeah, that's the thing, you would have been. But you would have had driving lessons a little bit like me. I was driving since I was in grade 1. But by the time you hit 18, you had to actually go there to actually find out what the real rules were.
Yeah.
Because you just to drive everywhere around the roads and everything, but you actually didn't actually know what the rules were because, you're not going to do a reverse park anywhere on a farm.
Yeah.
Or a 3-point turn. You just would have done a donut.
No.
Yeah.
So once you got on the road, it did make it a lot easier because you already had the car skills, and it just kind of seemed normal. Everybody else got to do the same thing too. Yeah.
I remember going into Sale one night with my brother Paul, who's the next one up from me. We're in Mum and Dad's car because we must have been allowed to borrow it, and him belting along maybe 120 k's or something, and him saying to me, "Don't tell Mum and Dad I went this fast." And I said, "Yeah, well, don't tell them I'm not really going to the movies." So we had a bit of an understanding.
That's the perfect situation. You're both doing something wrong, so you're never going to dob on the other.
No.
And my friends, we used to all call him Jack's Taxi because he'd pick us up and drop us off and take us places, which was good.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So exciting.
So how do you, having had all these experiences when you were raising your own children, not just in relation to that, but do you think your being the youngest and living the life that you did had an impact on you raising children yourself? I
think, I've definitely, how do I say this? Been more of the helicopter parent like Lise, been more involved. Like Mum did do canteen, and she did, I don't know if she did classroom helper. She wouldn't have had time, but I've done all of those things that maybe Mum didn't get to do. And I don't remember really ever being dropped off or picked up from school, but I've done like nearly every drop off and pick up with my kids. And probably tried a bit too hard, in terms of lunch boxes and meals and all those birthday parties. Like, I didn't really get a lot of birthday parties, and whereas I've made sure that's a real thing for our kids. So different style of parenting, but it's a different era as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So you can't, you can't really compare. But yeah.
So Mum was a really good sewer and knitter, and she made a lot of our clothes and knitted a lot of our jumpers and that sort of thing. And I don't have any of those skills. I hate sewing. I can't knit. I'm terrible in that regard. So, my kids have had all the bought clothes, but so that's quite different, I suppose. I am really hands-on still with cooking and that sort of thing. So, yeah, similar to what Ange is saying, just trying to always, provide a sit-down meal at the table, which is definitely what I grew up with. So that's pretty similar in that way. But I also think that my kids just probably don't have the chaos, the good chaos that we had, as in, if I did get into trouble for doing something as a child, you kind of didn't have to worry too much because before too long, someone else was doing something naughty or silly. So it took the heat off you a little bit. Whereas these kids, it is a bit more intense, or it is a bit more sort of, not under the spotlight, but yeah, there's just fewer of them. So,
and it's a circumstance of the times.
Yeah.
That we live in and the world that we live in. It's just different.
Oh, totally.
And you live in different places than when you were brought up. And
yeah.
like you and I lived on a farm. You just They're never ever going to do what the sort of things that we did
No.
as kids.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yep.
Yeah.
Live to tell the tale.
Yes.
Do you think you were spoilt?
I was
Growing
definitely,
up.
spoilt with love, that's for sure. And compared to the other kids, I would say I got more than what they would have got, as in newer, new clothes, bought clothes, not just hand-me-downs, and toys and things like that, and experiences. So I think year 10 was the first time I went on an aeroplane, and maybe that was a lot younger than anyone else in our family that might have flown somewhere. So in some ways, yes. And I think also being that tail ender, I had more of one-on-one time with mum and dad when they were more free because they didn't have a house full of kids. So you had that different relationship with them.
Yeah, and I was going to ask about the one-on-one.
Yeah.
Do you think you were spoilt, Lisa?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I guess it's the attention thing, like what Ange was just sort of going into there, that there was, I think mum and dad were a bit more relaxed by the time I came along, and definitely with their grandchildren, they were more relaxed, but probably couldn't shock them by then, by the time they had their 8th child. And I was pretty quiet, shy. Probably I considered a fairly easy child anyway. So yeah, I wasn't the one pushing the boundaries. That was the older siblings and the middle ones doing all that, So yeah, I get materially maybe a little bit, because I did get a brand new school uniform, which I don't think many of my siblings got, in that way. And we did have some international trips at school by that stage. So similar to what Ange is saying, I got to go on a school trip to Noumea in year 11 because I was doing French, and no one else in the family got to do something like that. Mind you, I had to pay my own way. So Mum said to me, sure, you can go on the trip, but you need to earn the money. So I had a job at a supermarket and I had to save up and pay for that. But I was fine with that. So kind of, I think, compared to my other siblings, but maybe by today's standards, I don't know.
Yeah.
And there's the old milking the cows as well. Like if you ask my siblings, they'd say she never had to milk the cows. And I didn't milk the cows that much. I did get out of it a lot, and the hard work around the farm. But
Was that a female versus male thing?
there was probably the girls' jobs and the boys' jobs. But that's not to say my other sisters didn't help milk the cows. I'm not sure how much they were involved. But by the time, there was only a few of us at home, when we'd get home, if someone had to milk, I would sometimes do it, but probably my brother would do it a lot more than me. So if you ask the others, they'd say I got out of heaps of doing heaps of work.
Yeah, because I do ask, and particularly when someone says, no, I wasn't spoiled, I always say, so if I asked your older siblings, what would they say about you being spoiled? Would they say you were?
Yeah, they'd say I was a spoiled brat.
Yeah. Mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, they spoilt me too.
Yeah.
Like, I remember them having, like, the middle of their car having loaded up with coins, saying I could go out and pinch a few 20-cent pieces out of the middle. It's because they had money by that stage, or they would buy me things, or their partners would buy us things. So, yeah, definitely more materialistically spoilt than they probably were.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, and that's good that you say that, because some people just say, no, I wasn't, and actually you're not quite sure if they were or not because you don't know. The time spent with your parents on their own, were there specific things that you did with them that your older siblings wouldn't have done? And I think about things like sporting events, meal times, or going out for meals, those sorts of things.
No. But as an adult, had them come and stay at my house a bit, which the other kids might not have, because they lived closer still to mum and dad. So we moved away. So we had them come and stay and help us on different renovations and projects. So that kind of interaction with them a bit more. But when we were still sort of living at home, no, it was just that sort of quieter household. And mum making dinner and me yapping behind her. And, yeah, probably she was more aware of what was going on for me at that point, because I was one of the only ones left at home.
Do you think that this is when you were growing up, did you think you had a voice in the family?
Not as big a voice as the older, louder ones, who I love dearly. Yeah, no, I think that's still a thing for me. I still feel like the older ones often make the decisions, and if there's, a family function or a family event or something that, you know, they will have a certain idea about how things are going to play out, and that's what's going to happen. But if I can probably canvass things a bit more and sort of suggest stuff and whatever. But they, I think, do kind of consider that they will often make those decisions because they've just been in that's role.
Yeah, same, really. I think nowadays I probably have more of a voice, but when I was younger, I probably allowed them to just make the decisions and didn't really feel like it was my role to do that. And I always sort of felt like I played the peacemaker, happy, bring the joy kind of thing. So I didn't get involved in the details as much. And it's funny because now even when I work with people or in other scenarios, I still feel like I'm younger than them, even though I'm not anymore because I'm older than most people at work. I still feel younger. Like I always think, you know, that there's this sort of element of respect or that their decision would be right, or there's just something in my brain that still makes me feel like I'm younger than them.
Yeah, that's really interesting. One of the traits of the youngest is often that you're, as you say, you're a bit of a peacemaker, but obviously you're the funny one. Do you think that's the case with you?
I think more I was the cute one, the curly hair, the little, like I was the flower girl at one sister's Deb ball. I remember everyone just thinking how cute I was, and when my brothers and sisters' friends would come over, they'd pick you up and carry you around, and I feel like I was more cute than funny.
Lisa?
Yeah, probably the same. Just the little one, the shy little one, you know, the quiet one, and pretty sort of like, you know, not causing too much trouble, not a difficult one, rather than that. So similar, I think. Yeah.
Well, we're nearly done, I think. So this is your moment, if you've got any outlandish stories you haven't told yet about being the youngest that you can think of.
When we first started talking, I did remember a family get-together at my sister's house back in the 90s, so I was in my 20s, and, you know, we'd all had a good time, and it was one of those few occasions by then that all 8 siblings in the family were together. So we decided to take a photo, but not your normal photo. We decided to do a family pyramid. So brothers,
and why not? Of
4
course,
down the bottom. Sisters, 3 on top of them, you know, on 4s on top of them, and then me being the lucky youngest on the top. So that was an interesting memory. And then the pyramid collapsing, you know, shortly after we were in position and the photo was taken, and then it sort of all collapsed and
if you had done that,
around laughing on the floor.
I was the heaviest. I would have killed them all anyway, so we never would have done that.
It was definitely a bonus to be the youngest in that photo because I could be on the top, and I don't even know how I got up on everyone else's shoulders. But anyway.
I don't remember this, but I hear the story. I've heard the story so many times about one holiday in Seaspray where apparently Mum thought I was with Dad down at the beach and Dad thought I was with Mum back at the house, and I decided to take myself for a nap, and I'd rolled up, tiny little person, rolled up at the bottom of a sleeping bag and rolled into a ball. And then I think maybe this is when Dad was down this time. They've come back to the house and where's Angela? Oh, no, she's with you. No, she's with you. And then a massive search goes out across all of Seaspray and everyone's crying. We've lost her. We've lost Angela. Someone's stolen her. And then one of my cousins trips over the sleeping bag and wakes me up. And there she is. And there was lots of joy and tears. So I hear that story a lot.
Was it entirely joy and tears? Was there any consternation there from your parents?
No, I don't think so. Like I mean, I was too little to know, but I just hear that they were all just very pleased to find me. They thought I'd been abducted or some such thing. But the other thing that I was thinking about, which is a joyous, I don't know if it's just a youngest moment thing, but when I came back from Japan, I came back and I might have told 1 or 2 siblings, get everybody to Mum and Dad's house and I'll turn up and, you know, this will be really great. And I remember getting out of the car and my feet not touching the ground for, 10 minutes. Everyone just passed me around like this joyous, the baby's home kind of feeling, which was really nice.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. I reckon that's probably a good note to finish on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the babies come home.
Yeah.
Even if we're 50.
It is still like that. You go home and mums, you can tell, can't you, that they're just so glad to have you home. I mean, they're probably glad to have everybody home.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's certainly the case then. So. Beauty. Lisa, thank you.
Oh, thanks so much. It's been fun, Ed. Thank you.
Angela, thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
And thanks for listening to us. You can find more of The Baby wherever you found this episode, and you can also find us on Instagram, Facebook and Threads. Get in touch and tell us what you think, or if you're the youngest and you'd like to have a chat, then give us a yell. We'll catch you next time.
The Baby podcast acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land on which it was recorded and pays respects to elders past, present and emerging, as well as all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Music for this podcast is by Serge Pavkin Music. The Baby podcast takes no responsibility for any legal or personal disputes that may arise from this podcast. The Baby podcast is written and presented by Ed Gannon. This has been a Media Means production.